to you, how you gonna tell me how to handle it, and then she was like, I'm gonna pray for you, and she was serving me the old bullshit, the old BS trays and everything, trying to tell me something. So they took me to medical, and I had a vision of them saying they was gonna try to give me some Tylenol to give birth for, to make the pain go away, and make me walk it out or whatever. And then they had brought me the same black nurse that had told me when I was trying to tell her that something came and popped out of my vagina, and I seen a trickle of water and look and see my stomach moving, and she wouldn't look at it, and it was like, take her back now. She was the one who was in there, was like, do you need you want something for the pain? And then I was like, I don't take pills. I don't pop pills. That's what I told her. And then I was like, no. And then she was like, okay. And then so they had one of the little white nurses. She was one who was following me in the grocery store. She was working in the Kroger's, but she all of a sudden ended up being a correctional guard. And that's how the Illuminati work. So she was actually following me in the store at the Kroger's and working at the Kroger's, and when they was following me with my baby in the grocery stores. And then after that, they was pausing in all the brands, and I had to drive out a whole hour and an hour back from different grocery stores to go to grocery stores that was not in Conroe, because they had poisoned all the stuff that we was buying out of Conroe. And then they was looking at me strange. I was wondering why all the white people was looking at me strange when I was coming into their stores in different neighborhoods, because there wasn't nothing wrong with their food. Wasn't nothing wrong with none of the food that I was getting out of them stores. And then that's why they was looking, because it was a lot of people that was plotting on me in this country. It wasn't just the people that was in Conroe, So something happened to my car and everything too around that time, to where something was wrong with my car. But anyway, so she basically Lord, anoint me, Father God, anoint me. So she brought me. The white lady was in there with me in the medical infirmary after they brought me back from the hospital. So they was making all kind of phone calls to not confirm my pregnancy. Even though it had been confirmed. And charge nurse Michelle was looking like, oh my goodness, was I not supposed to do that? Was I not supposed to confirm her pregnancy? Like, she was looking like, oh my goodness, I'm in trouble. I was supposed to lie. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know if they didn't give her the memo, you know what I'm saying? Like, you supposed to not confirm this lady pregnancy, like you're supposed to lie, like everybody else was doing. And so but she didn't lie, and I was proud of her for not lying. And there was another nurse that was telling me, she was like, oh, well, I know when you bleed. And she was like, when you start bleeding, then I know that you really in labor. That's what she said. And then I had a dream of another black woman she was young, dark skinned girl, having been in a turtle suit, and she had started bleeding. Cause I was finna damn near try to cut my cervix open to try to get the baby out, because the baby had been shaking in my body. And you would know the baby started shaking in my body. It might have been after that. Yeah, it was after that. But I was having contractions and stuff, and I knew it was around the time for me to give birth. And I was like, man, if I got to go up if I got to save my baby life, if I got to go get the baby out my damn self, I got to get this baby out. Alive. And then when they were spraying me, I was having the contractions, and they were spraying me, and the spray was just stopping them. Whatever it was strong. Like, if you just breathe it, it's going to stop them contractions, and it's going to stop your cervix from opening and all of this. So these people very high tech. They very intelligent as far as, that type of stuff. These people done studied the female body and anatomy to the T, and they know what to do to stop that labor, and they was doing it. And so I had dreams that they had got like some of the top doctors involved to do this. And people was on top. They was like, man, I'll get into that on the spiritual level about my cell and the different people that they like to get on top of the cells. They like to get on top of the roofs of your house. They like to be in the attic. They like to do all kind of crazy stuff. These people crazy as hell, man. And so, but I'll get into that on a whole another time. I'm gonna stick to this topic. But so basically, the white lady was saying to me, that she was getting smart with me. This is the same one who had followed me around the store when they started poisoning us before Austin got out of jail. They was poisoning me, and I was getting delirious in the house. And I was actually feeding the stuff to my baby too, and it was drying us out. And so it was drying out, like it was drying me out. And so it was drying both of us out. It was making us delirious. And so I was like, a young white man came in there, a little guard. He was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I looked at him. I was like, "How you think I'm doing? I'm black." And I was like, "The only reason why you got that smile on your face is because you white. So don't ask me how I'm doing." And then the white lady was like, "Okay, that's enough, Jones. You just, and I was like, I went off on her. I was like, "Don't tell me nothing." And then she was like, "Come on, we finna go back into the cell. Come on." And I told her, I said, "You lucky I'm pregnant. Because the Most High revealed to me that y'all done did this to over 250 black people in this country. 250, and I said it loud. And I was like, "Y'all lucky." I said, "You lucky I'm pregnant." And I was serious. She was lucky that I was pregnant. Because they was abusing me. And so she put me in the cell where they would call a suicide cell, and I wasn't suicidal. And they was trying to force me to say that I was suicidal in order for me to come from the back where they had the male inmates constantly congregating outside of my cell. And I believe they was trying to get up in it, on the slick. And so I wrote several forms to all over the jail about my rights, my medical rights, about the inmate abuse, about the food, about being denied proper nutrition, not being given vitamins, not being given an ultrasound, or whatever. And they just violated all my rights, and they completely violated my body. And my child, you know what I'm saying? My child screamed for me for 4 months or longer when they snatched us away from each other on the day of the shooting. And so he was over there at Cynthia's house screaming for months, and she couldn't stop getting him to scream. And she claimed it was because of the shooting, but that's a damn lie, because I told y'all I checked him to see if his body was all right after I got him out of Austin's arms when Austin was attacking him. Well, Austin was being stupid with him, they say. So when I put him down, he was fine. He wasn't crying. He wasn't shaking. He wasn't acting strange. I put my hands up to come walking out, and the baby put his hands up too, right there with me. And the detective was like, that based off of the police footage, that he didn't want to go nowhere near Austin. So when I stepped over Austin, he didn't want to go nowhere near his daddy after how his daddy was behaving. And every time Austin was beating me up in front of him when he was a newborn, he'd be looking at me screaming, "Ah!" while he was beating me up. And then so I started trying to handle Austin, because I can't let you be beating me up in front of my child, because that make him feel like I can't protect him, and I'm his mama, and I need him to trust me and feel like he's safe with me. So after Austin was behaving like that, and he seen that I shot him, and Melbourne was good. He was not worried about it, because he saw that I protected him, and he was good. He didn't even know his daddy like that. You know what I'm saying? He had just met his daddy, and he was fine. He was not bothered at all. He didn't want to go nowhere near his daddy, but he was fine with mama, because I wasn't the one attacking him. I wasn't the one attacking me. I wasn't the one slinging him upside down, acting crazy. I wasn't the one punching him in his back. He ran up on Austin, hitting Austin. So Melbourne wanted to hurt Austin his damn self, because When Austin was hurting me, I'm his mama. He ran up on Austin and started hitting him. And then Austin hit him and mushed him in the face. And then Melbourne went straight back, hit his head on the floor, and was staring at the ceiling. And then the other times he was screaming and crying after Austin made him bust his head. So Melbourne was not distraught when the shooting happened. He was distraught while his daddy was slinging him around. He was screaming to the top of his lungs and crying. But after I got him from Austin and I checked his body and made sure he was all right, and I put him down and tried to send a video to my family, Melbourne was fine. And when they told me to put my hands up, I put my hands up, and I looked at Melbourne, and he put his hands up too. And me and my baby walked out like some criminals with our hands up when the police had their guns drawn out at us. And my son was not distraught. My son was not crying. My son was playing like, you know how you see monkey do. He saw mama doing it and he was doing it too. And so he screamed for months at Cynthia's house because he didn't want Cynthia. He wanted his mama. And he did that anytime I left him with Cynthia, because I went to get my nails. I go get my nails. I went to get my nails done one time, and I left him with Cynthia, and he was screaming. And it was hard to get him to try to stay with Cynthia, so he never did spend the night with Cynthia but one time. And he had like a horrible diaper rash, and I took him to Texas Children, and I wanted to get him checked, and they wouldn't do it unless I made a police report, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to just make sure I put some diaper cream, and I ain't never letting him go back to Cynthia's, and I'm going to make sure I change him as soon as he get wet. I'm going to check him every hour. So my baby never even had a diaper rash barely after that one time, and it just, for me, you know what I'm saying, I knew that she was lying, trying to say he was in distress about the shooting. No, he was in distress because he wanted his mama. And she was not his mama. So it took him a while. Anybody will get adjusted after a while when you force them to be without their mama. He a child. You done made him grow up 2 years without his mama. Of course, now he probably attached to somebody else. He's a child. He need nourishment from somebody. But he was screaming for his mama. And that's what it was. And so they put me back in that cell, and then I had to go through all these evaluations or whatever. I was like, just move me back to the back or whatever or something. I don't know how it happened, but they ended up moving me back there again after they had taken me to the hospital, and they were spraying me. So this is when they started spraying me. So I was still having a contraction, and I was trying to get up and walk around to make my cervix dilate. And then I started putting getting pads and sticking them up there, and toilet. People was giving me the mop. They was like, you want the mop? Do you want the mop? You want the clean up or whatever? And I was using the mop to stick wads of toilet paper and stuff up there. You know what I'm saying? Because they was spraying me and gassing me, and it was stopping my cervix from dilating. And I don't know, but this is what was going on. And so I started screaming, and I was opening up to tell them I need to use the phone, and then I would be breathing like this, because some of the stuff they was spraying on me was making me not be able to breathe that good. So I was telling them I need to make a phone call, and they knew I didn't have no money on my books. They was messing with the money on my books. When I got the commissary and I was trying to trust the commissary, I was eating it, and then I'd be knocked out. And I was drinking a whole bunch of water. So the only thing that would wake me up out of this dead sleep was the fact that I had to pee. And then my pee would wake me up, and I'd go and pee. And then that's the only thing that would wake me up. Other than that, I could have been knocked out dead. For real. That's how strong the stuff was. And so it was on my food. And then I heard somebody say, Miss Jones, are you awake? Miss Jones. And I knew y'all done drugged the hell out of me. What you think, I ain't gonna wake up? Did you drug me so bad that you waiting to come in my cell or something? I was like, oh, I'm awake. And then they started whispering and all of that old kind of stuff. And so I know, like, the stuff was so, I would open up to tell them I needed to make a phone call, and I was pretending like I was on the phone. And then I was just trying to breathe outside the cell through the little hole for the phone, and then I'll be down there trying to breathe, and then they stopped. I had to move me to another cell, and they was trying to make me say that I would hurt myself in order for them to move me to the front because of what they was doing. I wanted them to move me into the cell where that was in the front by the booking. And they was trying to say, oh, well, you got to say you want to hurt yourself, and trying to bring me to a psychiatrist to make me say I wanted to hurt myself in order to bring me out of there, and trying to make me write it down on a piece of paper to say I wanted to hurt myself in order to move me from back there. And I'm like, no, it's the guards that's trying to hurt me back here, and that's why I'm trying to get moved from back here. And I spoke with several of the therapists and everything, and I told them that, because like I said, he never did the abdominal ultrasound on me. And so I was screaming and hollering, and then I remember, God was saying something about my hips was spreading and, for birth, and that was ridiculous that I was that small. I was 8 months, and my baby was the size of the palm of my hand. And then God showed me like a little tiny baby, and you would have had to sew the clothes for the baby. Like you would have had to sew them, and the body of the baby would have been that big, but the baby was only like that big, and I was 8 months pregnant. And so, basically, this is what I had seen, and so, like, I kept seeing, like, I'm not gonna go into the visions and stuff yet. I'm gonna go into that another time. But so basically, Lord, anoint me, Father God, in the name of Jesus. So they were saying that that I had to go back into the cell or whatever, all these different times. But now they had me back there in the cell, and they was spraying me and spraying me and spraying me. And they had moved the Muslim lady back there next to me, and then they had moved a woman next to me that was a Catholic who believed in Mother Mary, and they was back there talking to me. But I ain't finna get into all that. And I had told the lady that I was like, if I gotta go in front of a jury, she was basically trying to make it seem like I committed a crime. She was like, well, you should try to be nice to me. She was like, oh, but when you go to jail, she was like, when you shot somebody, it was a crime. And I was like, no. I was like, ma'am, when somebody is attacking you and your child, and you have to defend yourself, you know what I'm saying, and your child, I was like, that's self-defense, and that's not a crime. The person who hurt you to the point where you had to defend yourself like that, that's the criminal. That's the one who was committing the crime. And then she tried to be mean about it and tried to say, I wasn't pregnant, and being real mean about it. And I told her, I was like, I would gladly tell the jury what happened. And then so when the day of my pre-trial came up, the docket call, which was 10 days before the trial, I was still back there in this cell. And like I told you, they had been stopping my labor, and I was back there in this cell, and the girl, they was all trying to so-called be cool and everything, but then talk sideways. So I pretty much just stayed to myself, and I prayed, and I sing in the shower, and everything. And so they was having a black women psychiatrist come back there, and God was still letting me know they was plotting on me and all of that stuff. And then so on the day of my pretrial, they did not call me out to go with everybody, and I was reading from my Bible and praying. And then one of the guards was like, because they had sued me for my child too, I forgot to add that in. So around the time when I was in the cell, when they had brought me back there, when I was in population with when they had the day room and all of that, when the white lady was like, oh, she need a doctor, and then he was like, oh, I'm taking you back there because you keep, saying you pregnant. Like this was another time they drug me back there. Jesus Christ, please help anoint me, because this was a lot that they did. He was saying basically, hold on, because this was a lot, y'all. This was a lot that they did. So let me just jump back to where I was then, because Oh yeah, they sued me for my son around that time, and they sent me they had, oh Jesus smiler, they had sent me some pay. Man, they brought me to go meet this white man, and he was like, oh, this is gonna be the trial or whatever, that suing me for my son was gonna be the trial. That there wasn't gonna be no trial, but they was gonna take me to sue me for my son instead, and just take my son from me. And so there was a guard that was telling me like, oh, I'm sorry, like I didn't have nothing to do with it. Because they knew that that was wrong to sue me for my child, just because you knew that I was not guilty of the charges of trying to say that I shot Austin just out of pure malice or whatever, and pure evil intent to hurt him. I never would hurt my child father. I loved him, so I never wanted to harm Austin in any kind of way. So until he started hurting my child in the house, I ran up on him, but I stopped myself and I told him, don't keep hitting my baby, or it's a side of me you're not going to want to see. But even then, I didn't think about getting a gun. I was just thinking about punching the hell out of him, but, I didn't, but during the attack, it just happened. I didn't plan it like that. It just happened. Because I was scared he was gonna kill Melby. Melbourne Halo, that's his nickname, Melby. And so basically, they had sued me for my baby and taken me to court. And when they had me in there with Katie and them, Austin supposedly attacked another woman, and he was in jail for that. And God had told me, he was like, your baby daddy ain't gonna show up to this court day. And then God was like, you on that crack again, to Austin. And he was looking all crazy, and God was like, he ain't finna show up to court because he on that stuff. And he didn't show up. And then God was like, your baby daddy finna be back up in here with you. And he was. And then for attacking another woman, and Cynthia was saying he was on meth and everything, with the needles, heroin, the meth, I don't know, but God said something about some crack. So and he showed a pipe. He showed me a pipe. And he was saying that Cynthia was gonna show up, but she wasn't really gonna want to face me because she knew that she was wrong. But she was gonna show up anyway to try to be there on behalf of Austin, because he was drugged up and couldn't come. And so then he got arrested after that, because he didn't show up to one court date before he got arrested, and then he showed up. So I don't know, it was a whole bunch of stuff going on with him. But so they sued me for my child already, and then they brought me in. But I won the hearing. When we went to the hearing while I was incarcerated, I won the hearing. But Judge Tracy Gilbert was saying that because I was incarcerated, he couldn't give me the baby. So he was saying that he was gonna give Austin temporary custody because he was with Cynthia, and Cynthia was vouching, saying that she'll make sure he was all right. But then she done let him move another woman in her house, and supposedly he attacked the woman, and she called 911 or whatever. I don't know. They've been lying about everything. I don't know if this was true or not. You know what I'm saying? But he said he signed for 6 months for attacking a white woman or whatever, and they tried to make it seem like he caught a assault family violence charge for her and not me. But really, he did catch a assault family violence charge for me. And they've been trying to cover everything. They even been trying to say that I didn't have a baby with a white man. They were trying to say my baby daddy was black. And then they were trying to say that if I was pregnant, I was pregnant by a black man, but then still denying the pregnancy. So just real messy, real treacherous. And so on the day of my pre-trial, they still was plotting. They had tried to give me time, sir. I said no. God told me not to sign no contendo, because then that'll waive my rights to having the actual evidence exposed at a trial, and then they could just let Austin say anything and take me to prison pregnant. And so then he was like, you're not guilty, keep saying you're not guilty. And so I signed for not guilty, and they didn't want to let me get up in front of the courtroom and actually tell me that they were charging me with this and that, and how did I plead. They just made me sign a piece of paper saying I pleaded not guilty on a piece of paper. but they wouldn't let me get in front of the courtroom and say I plead not guilty in front of the courtroom, and so they never brought me to the trial. And then they brought me in the